Hello, everyone. Let's see, I'm going to get started. Good afternoon, everyone. I hope all of you are as excited as I am that it's Friday and almost the last session of the day. Again, I'm Susan Ariola and I'm the DSPS director here at Fresno City. I welcome faculty and staff to our Flex Day session. Today, you will be not only learning about the AIM platform, but also how DSPS services, what they look like in the remote learning environment still, and also in person as we are working in both areas. Also, a disclaimer early on, we will not be covering any COVID-related information, mask exemptions, or safety procedures at this time. I know this is a hot topic. However, any questions should be directed to Darren Kusanoff, as he is the Director of Environmental Safety. And so any questions should email to him, and we will make sure that his email is in the chat so that you can email him with any of your questions related to that. During the PowerPoint, however, you will have opportunities to ask questions, and we will answer those along the way, not only about AIM, but also maybe various accommodations that you might have questions about. We also encourage throughout the presentation to please type them into the chat so that we can further discuss them in an open dialogue. Lastly, we understand that these sessions can be long, and we hope to provide moments of interaction throughout, and we encourage you to stay to the end as you have a chance to win a $25 Amazon gift card. Before we begin, I'll let Tiffany introduce herself, and we have actually a few other presenters. And again, I'll let them introduce themselves. And again, thank you for joining our session. Let's go ahead and get started.
Hi, everybody. My name is Tiffany Myers. I'm a DSPS counselor and the DSPS department chair.
Hello, I'm John DeFore. Oops, sorry. I'm John DeFore. I'm the office assistant for Disabled Students Office.
Hi, I'm Alyssa Larios, and I'm one of the counselors with DSPS.
Hi, I am Rachel Barcelos. I am one of the testing staff.
Hello, I'm Tabitha Dubois. I'm the sign language interpreting coordinator for the district.
All right, I think that's everyone. So let's get started. Melissa, can you move to the next slide? Thank you. So I'm going to cover the DSPS AIM portal for instructors. So AIM is called as Accessible Information Management. It is a case management system for students that are part of the DSPS program. Some of the services that we've been implementing through AIM are DSPS applications. So the students are able to apply for DSPS services through the AIM portal, as well as the student intake. So counselors and students can do the intake process through AIM, and students are able to sign all of their documents through AIM. We also are using the faculty notification letter, which is something you all have probably received from us. We used to use the notification of authorized services, which was like a paper form, but now we are paperless, so it is the FNL. We are using AIM for alternate media, deaf and hard of hearing, as well as note taking and alternate testing. And for the students on their side, they are able to submit the application through the AIM portal, and DSPS counselors, as I mentioned, we work with them through the intake process through AIM, and we approve their accommodations through AIM as well, through that interactive dialogue with the student. And the students are able to request their accommodations through AIM, and this will send you that faculty notification letter. Next slide. For the instructor portal, you receive the FNL through an email from the DSPS AIM email account. This is an email account that you can respond to. So if you have any questions about the letter, feel free to reply to that email. And again, this was a previously paper form that students used to hand you for their accommodations. Instructors also have access to the DSPS AIM portal through their single sign-on. Next slide, and we can show you what that looks like. So this is what the icons look like. The gray one is for instructors and the blue one is for students, as well as the DSPS staff. We also use the blue. Next slide, you'll see that you use it through the single sign-on, where you see, your email, Canvas, Web Advisor. Go ahead to the next one, please. So you'll see at the bottom, it has the DSPS AIM instructor portal in the gray, and then the blue will be for instructors or for students, sorry. And then once you click on the gray icon, go ahead and move to the next slide. It's going to show you, this is your home page. Once you get to this home page, you're going to click on continue to view student accommodations. Next slide. Once you get to that area, you're going to see a list of students. We have blacked them out for the presentation, but you will see your students listed. And then there will be a little, it says view on the left side. You'll click on the view. And after that, go ahead, next slide. You'll see the faculty notification letter. So it is going to house the student's name as well as the DSPS counselor that the student is assigned to. Go ahead to the next one. It's going to show you the accommodations. So you're going to see the accommodations. Here we have alternative testing and proctor outside of the classroom, as well as extra time for testing and note taking. As you'll notice, it has a little brief description. So it's going to tell you a little bit about that accommodation. Next. And just to summarize, students are able to request their academic accommodations through this online portal. You will be receiving an FNL, which is the faculty notification letter, and the accommodation listed on the FNL will show a brief description. And to access this FNL, you can log into the AIM instructor portal by using your single sign-on. Does anybody have any questions so far about the process and how to access the faculty notification letter? Let me check the chat. I'm not seeing any questions this far.
Tiffany, can I ask something briefly?
Sure.
I'm sorry, I'm on my desktop, which does not have a camera here, but you mentioned that we can email questions to dsps.aim. Would it make more sense to email the individual counselor that is listed on the student's form with any questions? Or
yes, that would be preferred because that counselor works with the student directly, so they would know like specific answers to those questions regarding the accommodation. But if you accidentally hit reply, it will come to us. So if you end up just hitting reply to that email, we will see that as well.
Okay, good, thank you.
You're welcome. All right, so for the next part, we're going to go over note taking and that process, and John's going to take it from here.
All right. Sorry. Whoops, I lost my screen. Okay, note taking for students. The DSPS staff will, I'm sorry, I messed this up. Okay, the DSPS sends a recruitment letter out to the instructors. The instructor finds a note taker. So the first step is I actually went through the list of students. There was 474 classes that we have to find note takers for. I went through and was kind of going through them. So the first thing we'll send you a recruitment letter. So hopefully you can find somebody in the classes that will help note taking. Instructors finds a note taker from the same class with the DSP student. The DSPNS office will send instructor note taker how to apply instructions. So as soon as you find an instructor, you send us the student, and we will work with them to get on the AIM, and so they can upload their notes. Work with the note taker, get notes uploaded, and then DSP students will download the notes. So we usually will help them with that. We've been having to work with asynchronized classes. Let's say the instructor is unable to recruit a note taker. We just work with you to make sure that the video and transcripts available to the DSPS student. So a lot of times it'll be hard to find a note taker. And as long as your class is asynchronized, then they have all the tools they need. Go to the next slide. So let's say you find a note taker, and this is how you apply. You have the student go to their portal, and then there's actually a DSPS AIM portal in their app catalog. And what it would be is when they click on it, it would say new student or sign up as a note taker. They just click on the note taker, fill that out, and then actually, like, as soon as they fill it out, I can look and see it for asynchronized classes, we just ask if we don't find a note taker, if the student can have access to the transcripts or videos for students. And I honestly, the instructors, I have not had a problem with this. All of the instructors are amazing to help make sure that the student does have the videos and instructions. I think a lot of our students want to have everything done for them, and this is more kind of put it back on them they just need to slow down the video and work with that. But any questions with note taking, you're free to call me and we'll work together on that. But thank you very much. That's the end of my presentation.
It looks like we have a couple of hands raised. Tiffany Jones, do you have a question?
Yeah, where did you say students can find that? So that I'm
Uh,
teaching in person or synchronous, depending on how the semester goes.
Yeah,
But right now it's in person. Last semester it was synchronous. And so when they're online, where do the students see this? Is that the gray box that's for DSPS?
No, the students would be at the blue box.
Right.
And like I said, like we all have our own portal. The students, all students have the DSPS portal in their thing. And so when they click it, they, for our students, they would click, oh, I'm a new student, I want to get on there. But if it's a note taker, they just click the one that says sign up as a note taker.
Okay, great. And then those, for instructors to be notified that a note taker is needed will be sent out by email regardless of whether our class is in person or not?
Yeah, so what I did was I went through all of them, and all the asynchronized classes, I just put them as asynchronized. So I won't really be bothering those instructors unless the student says, hey, I really need help. You probably won't hear from me unless if you have some online or the hybrid. I just want to make sure how that's going. So I will be reaching out probably next week. You'll probably get something from me. But if you're asynchronized, I might even leave you alone until I get a chance to talk to the student.
There was a question in the chat box.
Before that, I think Victoria had her hand up.
Oh, this is also related to your question about asynchronous folks, but is it best then to make sure that the video and the transcript are just like simultaneously uploaded to Canvas?
Yeah, and
Okay.
then I noticed because I had some instructors call. So like if you do a Zoom video, the closed captioning is off. We will accept the YouTube. It sounds like the YouTube does better. But yeah, just kind of offer those. And it might be where a student's like, I didn't get the video, and then it would just be reaching out like, hey, do you have the video for the student? Or a lot of times we try to get the student to work with you.
Okay, thank you. And then as far as the student getting the video, if it is presented on Canvas in the module, then that should be considered the student has access to the video.
Exactly.
Is that right? Okay.
Yeah, exactly. That's why I said, usually you asynchronized instructors, I kind of leave you alone.
Thank you.
Okay, was there another hand up, or if not, we have a couple of questions. I do want to mention though, if you do have a video, it should have either closed captioning or have a transcript with that. And so please make sure that you do have that in your Canvas, or at least have the video have that information.
There was a question in the chat box from Nancy. Why are note takers often requested for ASL classes when voice is not used in those classes? Some videos will not have captions unless there's a voice because students are required to learn signs.
I honestly don't know the answer to that because I haven't had to address that yet.
Tabitha, would you have any information in regards to that?
And this is Nancy making a comment, and that happens all the time.
So did you request for me to make a comment?
Yes, yes, please.
That would depend on the student's accommodation. So I wouldn't know personally. It would depend on what their counselor is recommending. I wouldn't know otherwise.
So Nancy, my suggestion would be if a student is asking for that information or asking for a note taker and
This is
that's.
Nancy. Yeah, I'm not sure
Oh,
what we
I'm
would
sorry.
do when that is being requested.
Oh, okay. If they are asking that, my suggestion would be to reach out to the counselor that is assisting the student so that you can provide that information.
Just one second, Susan.
Yeah,
Nancy's talking at the same time.
Okay,
Because
I'm sorry.
So the point of this class is so everyone learns signs simultaneously. All these are hearing students. And so the point is to learn ASL. And so that accommodation, one moment for the interpreter. Let me pin Nancy first because her video keeps moving and I'm losing her. One moment. Okay, so oftentimes ASL instructors get students who are from DSPS. So those students are motivated to learn ASL, and that's great. And the student expectation is that they get a note taker, but everyone in this class is not deaf. And the point is to learn signs. So a note taker wouldn't necessarily be appropriate in this setting because it is basically memorizing the signs that we're teaching. And so the point is to gain that awareness. So as far as note takers and recordings for ASL classes that don't use voices, I mean, we don't have a need for that. And so that need would be there if it was a foreign language class like Spanish, but in ASL, it wouldn't be appropriate because you need to know what the sign is. We don't have a written form of sign language, so there wouldn't be a need for notes.
Thank you, Nancy and Javier. So my suggestion would be, so what normally happens with the faculty notification letter is that the student is requesting the accommodations from all of the courses that they are currently in. So although they may ask for not ask, but have the accommodation for a note taker, doesn't necessarily mean they may need that for your course. So it just depends on the student. And my suggestion would be to contact the counselor because they would know that particular student's needs. And it may just be part of their accommodations overall, but not for the sign language, or excuse me, for the ASL course. And if you are finding, is she talking? Or signing them, excuse me. Did she have any questions?
No.
Yep. Okay, Nancy, thank you. Okay, and I think Trisha also mentioned that she seconded Nancy's statement. Trisha, does that make sense? With no other questions, I think we will move forward. Okay, thank you, John.
Alyssa, I think I'm next. Can you click over? Perfect. Okay. So hi, again, I'm Rachel Barcelos. I am one of 3 staff members that work in the testing unit in DSPS. This semester, as of right now, we are offering testing in person again. If you are hosting an in-person class, your student does have the option, if you are hybrid or online, to use or not use their accommodations. That is up to their discretion. But if they want to come in, we have our testing rooms open with some limited availability. So the student is now scheduling their exam through the AIM portal. So they're also being transitioned over to AIM. And the AIM will send you, the instructor, an email once the student has scheduled their exam to complete a few questions. They'll ask you to complete a few questions, which used to be our cover sheet. So if you've done testing with us before, normally we would send you a cover sheet and you would fill it out, and that would give us the information that we needed to help complete the exam. That's all going to be done through AIM now. So like I said, once the student schedules, you'll receive that notification to either upload your exam or answer those questions. And I'll go into more detail in a moment. We'll review and we'll schedule, and then you'll get a notification once it's been scheduled as well. Sorry, Alyssa, go ahead. So the students will, like I said, schedule their exam through the DSPS AIM portal. Once the student schedules the exam, you will receive an email with a link. So the email is going to look, I know it's a little bit hard to see, but the email will look like what you can see on your screen right now. And at the very bottom is the link that you want to press. So once you press that link, go ahead and go to the next slide. It's going to prompt you to log in if you're not already logged in to your DSPS AIM portal. Can you pop back one, Alyssa? Thank you. Yeah, awesome. So you'll go ahead and log in, and then at that point, you'll have the option to upload your exam or go ahead with the exam instruction or exam details. Next slide. So uploading exams through the AIM portal is our preferred method for you to submit your exams, simply because then it's all in the same place for us. So everything for the student, the instructor, and for us as staff would all be together on the AIM portal. It also eliminates the hard copy version of that or losing it in emails. Of course, if you need to make other arrangements and it's not an option for you to upload it, or that's something you don't want to do, that's totally okay. You can go ahead and email us or call us and let us know in that instance. Next slide. So whether or not you are choosing to upload your exam to the AIM portal, we do still need for you to click that link on the bottom of the email and enter the exam details, which is right next to the exam upload. This tells us how to administer your exam the way that you want your exam administered. So in case you can't see these questions, some of the questions we would be asking that, again, are normally on our cover sheet would be, how would you like to submit your exam? How would you like your exam returned? What materials are the students allowed on the exam? The standard time allowed for your class, which gives us the option then to calculate the students' extra time if that's an accommodation they have. And then at the bottom, we do ask for your phone number. We promise not to sell it to telemarketers or give it out to students. The only reason we need that is because sometimes there is an urgent issue during the exam in which we would need to contact you to figure out how to proceed. So that's the only thing we use your phone number for. Next slide, please. So the AIM portal, if for some reason you lost that email or you don't want to log in that way, if you just log in to your AIM portal regularly, on that left-hand side, you'll see the views and tools, and there is an alternative testing tab over there. So once you click that, go ahead to the next slide. You'll see a whole bunch of stuff. Once the student has scheduled the exam, that's when you'll get that first email that'll have the link so you can fill out your exam details. And once you log into your portal and that's all been done, you'll be able to see the test. So in this case, it's our demo student, but it will show you the status of the exam. So if it's still processing, it just means that they're waiting for us to approve that time and date. You'll be able to see when it's approved, and you can also see once you've uploaded your exam there as well. Next slide. You can also see and view your exam once you've uploaded it. So if you think, oh no, what if I accidentally uploaded the wrong exam? No problem. You can always go back, and on that exact same screen, you can see the student and what they've scheduled, and you can also see the exam that you have uploaded at that point. Next slide. And then once the exam is complete, depending on how you prefer to submit your exam, we will return your exam, however you have decided for us to do that. And you'll receive an email once the exam has been completed. So you will know when the student has finished. If you have any questions specifically for us, since there are 3 of us, we encourage you to use our DSPS testing email, which I can add in the chat as well. And it's also on the bottom of this slide. That's it for my testing.
I think you have a question. I think
I do,
Melinda.
I see that. Yeah, go ahead, Melinda.
Yes, thank you. It may have been on the form and I just didn't see it. I think that the paper cover form used to say something about how long does the student have to complete it, like for instance, by the end of a particular day. Is that part of this form too? Because for example, for the security of my tests, I always want it done by the end of a certain day.
Yes. The date specifically is not on there. The amount of time allotted for your class is on there. So if it's a 60-minute exam, that'll be on there. If there's a certain day that you're wanting them to finish that by, you can let us know. I believe there's an additional note section.
Okay.
I believe on that form. I will go double check that just in case, and you can always call us too. And the student usually knows. They're pretty knowledgeable about when their last day is. So
okay, thank you.
Yeah, of course.
And please bear with us. This is a brand new module that we are just getting ready to use this semester. I think we piloted a few students in the summer, but this will definitely be brand new. So with all brand new things, there is a few hiccups. So please bear with us. And if you have any additional questions, you can always contact our testing center through that email.
Okay, it seems like there's no other questions and I believe I am the next slide. Oh, I did not mean to just pin myself. There we go. My name is Tabitha. I'm the interpreting coordinator. And so I'm going to be talking about deaf and hard of hearing students in the AIM module. So deaf and hard of hearing students, the request the interpreters for their classes is specifically done through AIM. And then I go through the process in AIM to go ahead and confirm the interpreters for their classes. The instructors should have received an email today, earlier today, regarding students being in your classes for deaf and hard of hearing students in your classes. And then if there are any requests for outside of class time, you can always request that, and that's done through the request form. Go ahead and go to the next slide. Perfect. And so this is where the interpreter request form, there's a few different places to find it, but this is just one of the ways. So you would go on the website, you're going to go under student services, to disabled student services program. It's the highlighted area on that page. And then you'll go, and then on the right-hand side, once you're there, towards the bottom, it will have sign language interpreting request form. And then this picture shows again where to click, and then the start of the interpreter form. And so you'll want to have all the information that's needed for that. We'll go to the next page and I'll go ahead and talk about some of them. Looks like our PowerPoint had a few issues, but that's fine. What it's saying is it's talking about what is needed for the form, the super important stuff. So I need to make sure we want to have the date, the time, the location. So the location, if it's a Zoom room, making sure we have that Zoom link, or it being the room number and the password, or the building and the room number if we're on campus. Really common problems are not asking for enough time. So making sure you have that time if you need the interpreters there early so they can resolve any tech issues, or you're not sure the exact end time, you can tell me the end time, but the interpreters can only be there until the end time that you've requested. So you can request, you're like, I want a little buffer room on the end, not a problem to go ahead and ask that as well. Or not providing all the information. So making sure we have that location on there, because if not, I get it and I email you back and say, thank you so much, but I need to make sure I have that location or the date or the time to make sure I can get that interpreter set up. So these are just some common questions that come up. So what happens if the class is going over the scheduled time? The interpreter can only stay for the allotted time, but you can always set up an interpreter request form if you'd like to adapt your class schedule. I know that happened a lot with our Zoom sessions in the past year, was your schedule changed. So we adopted that. You just got to set up the form, and then we can get an interpreter ongoing for that time. Does all video material need to be captioned? Does it need to be accurately captioned? Can I use auto captions? We can't use, you can use auto captions, but then you need to fix them. Because auto captions are great. It's a new feature that's very cool, but there's still a lot of mistakes. And so there are many funny videos on YouTube that show how bad auto captions are. If you want to have a laugh and see some auto captions, to give you an example, but making sure that those captions are accurate to make sure everyone in the classroom has full access. What do you do if the interpreter doesn't show up? Hopefully that doesn't ever happen, but contact me immediately. We're still half and half on campus on not, so feel free to shoot me an email. That's the quickest way to get a hold of me, and we'll make sure we can see what's going on to get that adjusted. Can you set up a meeting? Oh, sorry. Why does the interpreter need access to the class in Canvas? So we need access, that way the interpreter can take some time to prep that material beforehand. If there's anything we need for the class. If I'm going to go in and interpret a chemistry class, which I never would, but I would need to put in some prep because I don't know anything about chemistry. But I also would never put myself in a chemistry class because I don't know anything about it. But we want to have access to get that better prepared material, but also that way, if a student asks for something specific that's on Canvas to be interpreted, that way we have access to interpret that. Some students may request a video to be then put in ASL instead of English, or they may ask for something that is heavy in language. They may ask for that to be interpreted as well.
Tabitha,
Yes.
will the instructor have to do anything on their behalf in regards to putting them in Canvas? Putting
the interpreter in Canvas? No,
Yes.
They would not. That's being requested through IT. IT will drop them in there. It takes a little bit of time, so we may contact you beforehand, shoot you a quick email because we might have some access issues, but no, you wouldn't have to add us. We'll get added.
I just wanted to kind of make that, I know that answer, but instructors.
But it is a great question because it happens
Yes.
often. It's
Instructors may say-
set up by IT.
Yes.
I have a quick question. This is Nancy.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's not really a question, but it's a statement. So what I wanted to say was the interpreter would have access as an observant in the classroom, or they're just an observer in the classroom. The interpreter does not have the right to have access to the grades or the personal content that's in Canvas. That's not appropriate. So they need to be labeled as the observer. Okay.
Yeah.
On Canvas. And you can manage that to private settings for the student information to then be confidential.
Yes, please. We really don't want access to that information. I don't want to accidentally touch anything and mess anything up. We do request to be put in there as observers. Sometimes it happens that we might get put in as a tutor. I've once been put in as a teacher. Then we fix that very quickly because I don't want access to the extra information. I don't need it. The interpreters don't need it. Yes, we should be in there as observers is typically what we request to be put in there as.
Thanks, Nancy.
But yes, that's super valid point. Thank you for adding on that, Nancy. Can deaf students go to tutoring is the next question. Yes, they can go to anything that the campus provides. They are welcome to request interpreting services for any tutoring services they would like to attend. Does the interpreter need to be spotlighted? You may have seen some questions. So Nancy, she mentioned earlier, she couldn't see the interpreter. We need to make sure the interpreter is visible if you're in a remote environment. So you got to make sure that the interpreter is visible in the Zoom setting as well as yourself. And as you may see that we're currently sharing the screen, you may not be seeing me at this moment, or you may not be seeing the interpreter yourself because you may be adjusting that. So you want to make sure if you're sharing the screen that you can still see the interpreter and yourself when you're teaching, that both of you can be seen. That way that you can have access to both. Who requests the Oh, there's a question.
I have a quick question again. This is Nancy. I'd like to add something, if I can. I've seen a lot of deaf students being very frustrated. I'm a deaf teacher myself, and I understand completely what they're going through, just like me. For example, when I've gone through different trainings on Zoom, it's important that the PowerPoint is visible. The shared screen needs to be visible. So it can't just be a little screen next to the participants. what needs to be visible is what's being said as well as the interpreter. So I can see the interpreter in the PowerPoint at the same time. I can't read and see the interpreter at the same time. It's impossible. So try it if you need to, because you can see it's very hard to observe the screen and the interpreter at the same time. So anyways, that was what I wanted to add to those instructors, to be able to have your PowerPoint be visible and accessible, and not too many words on the PowerPoint, but for the students to be able to see the PowerPoint and the interpreter at the same time. That makes it that much more accessible. And then during discussion on Zoom, keep it simple. Just simple bullet points on the PowerPoint, okay? That's just what I wanted to add. And then the interpreter is responsible to then interpret what's being verbally said.
Thank you, Nancy.
And that's very, very important. For example, in videos that are used for instruction, it's very important for them to be accessible. And demonstration that's visual, for a visual demonstration that's being used, it needs to be compliant, ADA compliant. A lot of times they aren't.
Mm-hmm.
And if there's two things happening at the same time, it being captioned and someone adding a comment, that's not accessible. We can't look two places at the same time, right? So just be aware of that as well. It's very important to be sensitive to that. The best way to include a video on Zoom is for you to be able to watch it without sound on, and to make sure it is accessible. Turn the sound off and you watch it yourself, and you can tell if it is accessible or not with the caption. So that's just a tip there.
Thank you so much, Nancy. I think I have one last one on this. Who requests the interpreter? So I recommend that everyone requests the interpreter, the students, the teacher, anyone. I would rather get 10 requests for one event than not get one at all and then there not be access. So please send me the request so that way we can make sure everything gets covered for you. I believe there was a question, Melinda.
Yes, thank you. I'm wondering why, obviously this is a legal, actually I should clarify, this is a question related to captioning ultimately, because obviously this is a legal requirement that we need to be in compliance. And I'm wondering why the district or college, whatever level that between the two, does not provide captioning services. I know that we can submit our materials to that, I forgot if it was 3CM or whatever it was called, but under COVID, the state, I believe it was the state chancellor, issued a letter that they were limiting the services to only specific, like if an instructor specifically had a student who needed captioning, because the system couldn't handle every other kind of request. And so that means if we are teaching a class that does not have a student who specifically needs captioning, it's on the faculty member to end up accurately captioning or fixing the captions, and that takes hours. I, for instance, spent many hours, finally discovered that a website, Otter, that was the most affordable and quickest way, because I might have a video that's not ready 2 weeks ahead of time, but I need to get it ready, captioned. And there are other, I also have been researching this, there are many colleges that provide this service to faculty where they can submit their material like their PowerPoint. And it disgusts me that we were talking about a legal requirement that our college is not supporting for faculty, and ultimately that means for students. Why is this not, and we have tons of money, as they've told us, with this COVID relief funding. Why is this not being provided to faculty? This is, again, about students and a legal compliance.
That is a great question. That question is out of our purview. And honestly, I would bring it up to your dean, and even maybe, I hate to throw his name out there, but Don Lopez is over admin services. And so that is, I mean, we service students with disabilities, so we want to make sure that, you know, that they're the information that is coming from faculty, especially their videos, are captioned. And so that is what, you know, that what we fight for. And so that is something that, and I totally agree, we do have resources on our website for faculty in regards to captioning and how, you know, you can go about either purchasing or supporting, you know, through a variety of different resources, captioning services, but ultimately we don't have the ability to support faculty. And so I do understand your frustration, but I would definitely bring it, you know, to someone much larger than just our department, because we, you know, we don't really have a say in what happens with faculty or.
I do have a quick question here.
Okay.
So this is Nancy, and the interpreters need to know ahead of time what you're presenting on, right? If there's a recording involved and whatnot. So the interpreter is placed on site and is ready with that prep. So if there's a video that's being used over and over again, then contact the interpreter and let them know. And on Zoom, they're able to then interpret it on Zoom if they are, you know, interpreting for that session and there's a video involved.
Yes, if you have videos for your class that would like interpretation to occur, that is something that can be requested. I believe that's the last on this slide if we want to go into this.
And this is Nancy saying in advance, though, to clarify, in advance.
Yes, thank you, Nancy. That is important. So we have the right amount of turnaround time to get the right interpreter there to make sure the interpreter can prep for it, especially if it's recorded. We want to make sure that information is clearly accessible and has the right interpreter there. Here are a few quick tips for working with the interpreter. You're going, so first is talking to each other. You don't need to say, tell them this, things like that. You're talking directly to the student and vice versa. We are there to interpret that. I do also want to let you know, sometimes things do take a little bit more time with that interpretation. The languages are different. And so we are processing and presenting the information in a different language. And so sometimes it just takes a little bit longer to change that language. Then the interpreters can only be there again for that allotted amount of time. We don't mind at all if you give us that time, we are there, but we can't stay past that time or arrive early. So if you want to do that, go ahead and put that on the request. We can get there. We can adapt the request to be there earlier. But the interpreters may have other jobs just before or just after that they will have to go to. And so they won't be able to stay or arrive before that time. So don't stand in front of the interpreter. That's kind of got two different things, because when we're in person, don't stand right in front of us. We don't want to end up interpreting and hitting you. We can't see the student, then the student can't see us. But via Zoom, that means the same kind of thing. Make sure we're spotlit, make sure that we can be seen, that you can be seen. We both want to be seen to make sure that there's that full access for everyone involved. The interpreter is there to interpret. Your lectures are often very fascinating, but we are not there to partake in them. If there's group projects or anything like that, the students are there to partake, and we are there to interpret to make sure they are fully involved. We also follow a code of professional conduct that we have to follow. It has confidentiality, things like that, making sure everything that is said is interpreted. There's a long list of things on that code of professional conduct. If you have any questions about that, I can always shoot that out to anyone who has a question about it. And then again, get those requests in as early as possible. We want to make sure that we can get that request in, get it covered for you. There are not a lot of interpreters, and so making sure everything is covered, we want to make sure we can get that covered and make sure that everyone has access. I believe those are the ends of my slides. I do see a question in the chat regarding interpreters. It says campus had a limited availability, short staffing for interpreters. Moving forward, have more interpreters been hired? Are students still going to be using interpreters on iPads? They've had that happen before. So we have hired, I believe, one more interpreter during the pandemic, or since we've been working from home, there's been one more interpreter hired. We are still looking to hire more interpreters. It's always out to hire more, but no matter what, there is always a shortage. So there may be some interpreters who are remote or in person, depending on the situation. Sorry, Susan.
I did also want to mention, we did hire an interpreter, a full-time interpreter at each campus that is designated for each campus within the district. So we did do that. And I also see that if someone's asking in regards to iPads, our interpreters do have an iPad for each one of them to use. We supply headsets for faculty and any other devices that you feel is necessary or equipment that you may need to better serve your students. You can always put those requests into myself or Tabitha or even TSS, and we can make sure that we have those available.
Yes, the question is clarifying that they had an interpreter on the iPad via Zoom. I believe it was Linda.
Oh, okay. Probably if you're teaching in person and on campus and you need an interpreter in class for video remote interpreting, yes, we would definitely supply an iPad so that that function is available.
And to expand on that, in short answer, yes, we still in the future likely will have some classes that have interpreters via iPad. It just depends on how many students we have and the interpreter's availability and scheduling. We have 5 classes at the same time that are 2 hours. I can't put 3 interpreters in 5 different classes at the same time.
And I do want to just mention, I mean, Tabitha, your workload just this week for Flex Day presentations and convocation, how many interpreters and requests have you seen in just the last week?
Like 100 something. I don't know. There's 2 in each session at Flex Day as a start.
Yes. So we do want to mention, if you do have an event or you do need an interpreter, please make sure that your requests are being made 2 weeks prior to, because especially like this week, it's been crazy. And, there's no way that we can staff, although we have. Great job, Tabitha, supplying interpreters for every Flex Day presentation throughout the district. Tabitha is a coordinator for the entire district, so not just Fresno City. So it's been a crazy week. So good job.
I see 2 questions. I see one in the chat and then Nancy as well. I'm not sure who was first. Okay, I'll read the one in the chat first.
But you can go with the chat first.
Okay. They asked for clarifying if the instructor is saying something and the interpreter needs it clarified, will they ask? The interpreter typically will be asking if there is any clarification needed. If they specified if they mumbled or said something too quiet that the interpreter couldn't hear them or things like that, the interpreter can ask for clarification. They may say, just one moment, could you please restate that for the interpreter? Things like that. And then Nancy.
I think what's important for all of you to know is that interpreters don't all have the same skills. The interpreters come with a varying difference of skills, just based on what they've learned, their habits, especially during a presentation. So that's a fact. Some interpreters are highly skilled, phenomenal, very fluent in the work that they're doing. But again, it's a variety of skill sets within interpreters. Some interpreters struggle. And so it's important to make sure that you clarify with the student to see if they're understanding. And if you feel like your question wasn't answered appropriately when the student responds, maybe that information wasn't interpreted accurately. And so you can go ahead and restate your question and ask again. But if you notice that that miscommunication is a pattern, check in, make sure that you ask for a different interpreter if that's the issue. Because Also, all deaf people are not fluent in English. Some deaf people learn sign later in life, like in college. That, unfortunately, that's a fact. So many languages, some students are language deprived. And so when you're language deprived, especially our deaf students, it's important to know that 90% of deaf students, their parents aren't fluent in sign or don't even know sign. So my brother's deaf, and then maybe they might be the only hearing or deaf person in the family who knows sign. So a deaf person, when they enter college, they might not be fluent in ASL either. So we can't assume that that person is fluent in sign and that the interpreter is fluent in sign. So we need to take that time to assess what's going on, ask those questions, have that dialogue with your students, and see where you can go from there during class. And so that's really important. We need more choices for interpreters, especially because of COVID. And because of Zoom, getting interpreters from outside of Fresno has been beneficial, which means that we get exposed to different interpreters and different regional signs, which can be different because those are signs that we don't use here in Fresno. So I just wanted you to be mindful of that.
Thank you so much, Nancy. That is super important. And please feel free to reach out to me if you are having any issues or any questions about the interpreters in your classes. Please reach out to me. We want to do what we can to make sure that student has full access. So don't hesitate to let me know.
I'm not sure what happened, but Hannah disappeared off the screen.
Hannah was currently she was signing what Nancy was signing to make sure there was full access.
Okay. We have one more question, and I think
looks like there's a question. I believe it's for me as well. Would that apply to technology terms or discipline-specific jargon that the interpreter may not know or know how to spell? Would an interpreter ask me on behalf of himself, if they didn't understand or a word or term, know how to accurately interpret it? We have had interpreters do that in the past. That's why we request that access to Canvas, is so hopefully we can start doing some research ourselves, but we'll also sometimes set up meetings with instructors ourselves to get that dialogue, make sure we understand the terms, or finding the right interpreter who may have prior knowledge of that topic. And I believe that's it. And then we go on to the contact information here.
I did want to thank, just a quick shout out to Hannah and Javier, our lovely interpreters. Thank you.
So this is the contact information for all the presenters today. Feel free to also call the DSPS main line. Alyssa, go ahead and go to the next slide.
All right. Hi, everybody. So I'm going to be doing a demonstration of the faculty resources page on our website. And so this is just a quick snapshot of the directions on how to get there. So if anybody wants to take a picture, if you want to remember how to do this after this, you can. But then I'm going to go ahead and share my screen and show you guys how to get there. So here we are at the Fresno City College website. So we're going to go ahead and go over to student services over here.
Alyssa, the PowerPoint is still showing, not the website.
Is that better?
There you go. Yep.
Okay,
that's it.
perfect. Thank you so much. So we're going to go ahead and go over to the website and then student services. And then from there, from there, we're going to see the DSPS tab. You can click on that. And then we're going to go ahead and scroll down, and you'll see right over here on this mid right-hand side is the faculty resources page. I'm going to go ahead and click on that. And these are the faculty, this is the faculty resource page we've been kind of referencing throughout the PowerPoint, throughout our presentation. So you'll see here, this is where you can find sign language interpreter requests. This is where you can find contact information for our alternate media specialists, information on closed captioning, and as Susan was mentioning earlier, different sites that faculty can use for captioning services, information on note-taking as well. There is also a YouTube video here that shows how to get to the AIM for Instructors page that we talked about earlier. And then down here at the bottom, there's more information, more videos. So as you can see, this is something we've been working on building out. So there's lots of resources here. So if you want to just spend some time exploring things, or if you have any questions and you want to try to find a quick answer, quick more information, this is a great place to go. Anybody have any questions?
That's just a quick overview. There's a lot of information in there, so take some time to kind of go through the tabs and gain a lot of information in regards to accommodations and a variety of other resources.
All right, so the next thing we have is a Kahoot. So as Susan mentioned, there's going to be an opportunity to play a quick quiz to win a $25 Amazon gift card. So.
And this is our 15-minute marker.
Perfect. Okay, can everybody see Kahoot? Are we seeing Kahoot?
Yes, we can see it.
Okay, perfect. So if you'd like, you can use the Kahoot app, or you can go to kahoot.it and plug in this PIN number.
And as we mentioned in the beginning, we are going to be giving away an Amazon gift card. Was it 25, Susan, for the amount? Yeah.
Yes, that's correct. And you'll get it right after whoever the winner is. You'll have to send in at least your email address to Tiffany or myself, or in the chat, and so that I can send that right over to you. So you'll receive it within minutes. I love the music. We don't get to hear it.
Oh, sorry.
Darn it.
There we go. All right, so I'm going to give everybody another minute. About half of us are playing, so I'll give everybody another minute just in case you have any tech issues going on. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and get started. So AIM portal for instructors can be accessed for students through my portal from the FCC homepage. Yep. And so we put this here because this is the best way to get to it, right? So just that My Portal, it does have, you know, Canvas, email, and everything on there, but that's how you're going to get to the instructor portal.
I hope everyone knows how to play Kahoot and knows how to choose.
Yeah, so it'll read the question and then you
Okay.
get your answers. You get to options, and then from there you can click the best answer. And so you get points based off who answers the fastest and the correct. So if you answer the fastest and it's the correct answer, you get more points. Instructors can find their students' accommodations through faculty notification letter that is emailed, and it's on the AIM instructor portal. Notification of services, paper only, faculty notification letter, email only, and students will tell their instructor. Perfect. Yep, so this is like we said, that one's our old one. So you're gonna get an email and it's also gonna be on the AIM portal. So DSPS faculty resource page includes tutorial videos, staff contact information, interpreter form, and more. True or false? Yep, that is true. Nice job, Daniel. So DSPS faculty resource page can be accessed from, so pick the best answer. So the resource page can be found on the campus academics page, the college's about page, campus life page, or the DSPS homepage. It's the best answer. Perfect. So for a live synchronous class, virtual or in person, who recruits a note taker? So is it the counselor, the student, the instructor, or the office staff?
I love that picture.
Correct. So the instructor for a live or synchronous class, the instructor would be recruiting the note taker. So interpreters can only provide interpreting services for the time that is scheduled. Is that true or false? True. So like Tabitha said, if you have an event that you're not sure if it's going to go over or not, you can always schedule in some extra buffer time because interpreters can only be at the event for the time that they are scheduled for. So the first step in scheduling an exam with the testing center is it the instructor schedules with the testing center? Testing center takes walk-ins. Testing center calls the student to ask when all their exams are, or does the student schedule the exam with the testing center via the AIM portal? Perfect. Yep. So that's like what Rachel was going through. The students are going to be able to request and schedule their exam with the testing center and AIM, and then that's when the instructor will get all that follow-up to continue the process on AIM, but the student's the first one who starts it. So after a student schedules an exam, instructors will use AIM to finalize the details and provide a copy of their exam. True or false? That is true. Everybody got that one right. Nice. All right, congratulations to Tiffany Jones. So Susan, would you like her to drop her email in the chat? Is that the best way?
Yes, please. Great.
So, oh, sorry.
Oh, I was just gonna say, great work, Tiffany. You came from behind and took the #1 spot.
Sharing.
All right, well, thank you everyone for attending our Flex Day presentation. I wish you the best of luck during the fall semester and be well and take care. Do we have any further questions? Tiffany, do you have any last remarks?
No, I just appreciate everyone being here. Thank you so much. Feel free to contact us if you have any questions. We're always here to help.
Thank you again, Alyssa, Tabitha, Rachel, and of course, Javier and Hannah, and of course, Susie. Lots of thanks to also, I think it was Joe, and I don't know who our other person was helping us. Forgive me. Where's her name?
Jennifer.
Jennifer, yes. Thank you, everyone. Have a successful semester. Goodbye.
Thank you. Bye.